Now that the 2016 election is over, the American people are beginning to settle back down into their customary routines. This election was the most savage in all of U.S. history, and very few people have come away feeling satisfied with the results. Naturally, those who voted for Hillary Clinton, Jill Stein, Gary Johnson, or any other third-party or independent candidate feels dismayed about the election of Donald Trump. And even many people who voted for Donald Trump said that they had to pinch their noses, saying that they knew they were only voting for the lesser of two evils. And among those who voted for Donald Trump, with pride and excitement, even they acknowledge that the America we have seen for the last 8 years is not the America that they grew up with. Many Americans are wondering, how did our political system devolve to such a low level as it is today? Our systems are breaking down, our politicians are dirtier and more corrupt than ever. People are losing faith as feelings of hopelessness set in. But this cycle is not new. It has been repeated over and over throughout human civilization. Fortunately, we have both historical and scriptural records that tell us about former times when humans have been in the same situation, and we can learn from these records, including this: government tyranny often rises when the population becomes apathetic and crooked leaders are given opportunity to exercise unrighteous dominion over the people. But apathy is itself an indication of an even deeper malaise, one that is infecting the very soul of the society. What creates this malaise is the collective neglect of God and His laws. When the people stop putting the will of God first in their lives and start chasing after the phantoms of personal indulgence and gluttony in all its forms, the need for reliance on our Creator is diminished. And as we turn our backs on God, we ignore the very laws of decency and morality that have formed a protective envelope around our nation. In the absence of a widespread acknowledgement that our rights come from God, the false theory that our rights are granted by government takes hold. Government then presumes to make itself our God, its politicians our prophets. We esteem our U.S. Constitution to be the noble and supreme secular law of the land. It was designed by our founding fathers with the intent of providing for a strong government to protect the rights of the people. But the founders also made it clear that the Constitution would only work if the people voluntarily chose to live by strict codes of morality, codes that were based upon the tried and true principles of Christianity. John Adams wrote that, quote, "Our Constitution was made for a moral and religious people. It is wholly inadequate to the government of any other." This means that if the people abandon their faith in God and God's standards of personal morality, the U.S. Constitution could not adequately provide for the protection and governance of the people. Such is today's dilemma. While there are practical and political actions that we must take to reduce the control of the federal government over our lives and property, let it never be forgotten that what led to the current state of tyranny was the loss of God's protection due to a majority of the nation turning away from His standards and worshiping the golden calves of self-indulgence, self-centeredness, and self-adoration. We must remember the words of Jesus, who taught us what the two great commandments are: loving God with all of our hearts and putting the good of our neighbor ahead of our own natural tendency toward selfishness. In short, we are to love God and to love our neighbor as we wish to be loved. A victory over the federal government will never result in more than short-term success unless we also win the battle for the hearts of men. I testify to all of you that the solution to the problems that afflict our nation is to return to that which made us a strong people to begin with. We must return our hearts to God. We must begin again in earnest to learn the teachings of Jesus Christ and live by them. The Democrats can't save us, and neither can the Republicans. The solution to what ails our country is not another politician. The solution is to have faith that the gospel of the Messiah can give us the humility and the righteousness necessary to again win the favor and protection of our Creator. Pick up a Bible. Start reading it today. I would recommend that you start with Matthew, Mark, Luke, or John in the New Testament. Learn what Jesus is teaching about how to live, and then do it. Your life will be better for it, and the collective result of many people turning their hearts to God at the same time will be the uplifting of our society as a whole and a return to political and national stability. For the End Times News Report, this has been Jake Morphonios.